Let's talk a little bit about preserving your harvest and when maybe you have an abundance, or maybe you just get tired of canning at the end of the season, or maybe you just want to do something different. So I'm going to share with you today what I'm doing a little bit different this year, along with canning some of our fruits and vegetables. All right, so right here we have okra. So this is the first year I've actually grown okra. I planted it last year just to give it a try, and I planted it too late and we did not get any okra. So this year we are getting okra. It's actually doing really well. I planted two different kinds. One is Star of David, and I cannot remember the other one. It's just a regular looking okra, I guess you could say. So I decided to just dry it. I have a food dehydrator, and I was looking online and looking in my ball canning book to see what all you could dry, and this was one of them. So this is quite a few pieces of okra that I have dried. Some of them were bigger, probably too big because I wasn't sure when to pick them, and so the tender ones you can definitely tell. A couple of them I left. I gotta let them get too big. They were too hard, and I'm just gonna save them for seeds. But this is one of the things that you can dry in your dehydrator, in your oven, and have it for soups. You can rehydrate it supposedly and fry it. Never tried that, but you could add it to soups like this as well. All right, so another thing you could do with your harvest, with a little bit of your harvest, depending on where you're at, is making fire cider. So this is fire cider. Now this does have an orange and a lemon in it, but it also has onions and some of my herbs from my garden. So that is a few things you could add to it. If you grow horseradish root, which I actually bought and planted this year, or some ginger, you could use that. So this is another way to just kind of use some of those things that you might have. Now here I've already canned tomatoes, and I've made some sweet pickles, so a new recipe of sweet pickles. I have made, I've made peach jam this year so far, and I'm going to, let's see, what else did I make? Oh, I made this really pretty, so I planted nata instead of jalapenos, and so this is nata pino jelly. And what this is used for, I guess you could put it on toast if you wanted to, but you can put it over like cream cheese and then use it and eat it with crackers or whatever it may be. So I may be taking this to a gathering we're going to this evening and trying it out and see what it tastes like. All right, so if we come back in here in the kitchen, I'm usually outside, I'm usually in the garden, but today we're going to be in the kitchen. As you can see, I have a few things. We have a scrap bowl over here, another scrap bowl, but I have like tomatoes, and I have these round zucchini, regular zucchini, I have some yellow squash. I have lots of peppers. These peppers did really well. These are lunchbox peppers. And then I have some lilac bells that did pretty good. And then lots of cucumbers, but lots of nata pinos. This whole bowl is full of nata pinos. So that plant did really, really well. So I'm going to be drying some of these. These will eat, but these I'm going to dry. And then I'm also drying, as you can see right here, I am doing yellow squash. All right, so some more things that you can do with your dehydrated would be, this is powdered peppers. So what I did was I just dried a bunch of my peppers. I dried just all of the colors that I was first getting, and I dried all of them, and I got some powdered peppers. So I can add this to soups, I can add this to flavor things, and I won't have the chunks, which some of our kids don't like. So this is a great option as well. Now, I had a lot of peppers, and it did not make a whole lot of powdered peppers, but that's understandable because, volume wise. All right, so another one is, I gotta read on these, see what this is. This is basil. So I just took my leaves and I brought them in. I pinched off the tops where they were gonna flower, and keeps them from flowering, keeps them bushing out. So I just brought that in and dehydrated those. They smell so good. All right, the next one is sage. I had a little bit of variegated sage, so I just brought it in, and I went ahead and started drying some of it. So now I have some sage. Now this is some of the the nata pino peppers. So you can hear them. And they just dried up, and they smell so good. They have that really good jalapeno smell. They don't have the spice. Now this is comfrey. I have a huge comfrey plant out in the garden, and to kind of, I don't really know what comfrey's supposed to smell like, but I also have some hanging on the wall on a thread over here and to dry, but these I pulled off the spine and just laid them on the dehydrator. I will probably just hang them from now on. I think that would be simpler, and just use this for vegetables. But you can also dry tomatoes. So here are some tomatoes, you can see those. And the tomatoes were a little bit trickier. I haven't decided if I'm gonna powder this or not. I may do some more and powder them because I have plenty. But these were a little bit trickier as they stuck to my trays. So you can actually see, I kind of cleaned them off, but they really kind of stuck to it. So I'm not really sure if I could spray them with some olive oil and then put them on there, or maybe use like trays or something. Okay, I think those are all that I showed you there. So you could do rose petals. I'm really curious to try rose petals next year. So just drying all kinds of things and using stuff, not just having to can it or freeze it, where it takes up more space in your freezer, takes up more space on your counter, on your cabinets, or in your cabinets or on your shelves. And I mean, just like this powdered peppers, that was a lot of peppers, and they don't take up much room now at all. So, and even these jalapenos, I mean, I filled these trays full, and well, actually I filled a couple of trays full, and they don't take up much room, but they smell amazing and they will last for a long time. Now the best way to keep them is to vacuum seal them. I do not have a vacuum sealer for a mason jar, but it's something I'm going to look at and I think would be really interesting to do, and then vacuum seal these, and then they will stay good for a really, really long time. But the main thing is to make sure that you get as much of the water out. You can hear as much of the water out as possible. They almost should snap, is what I've been reading. So they should. I mean, these are almost like chips. So they are very dry. There's not very much water content in them at all, and that is what we want. On some of these, I'll just cut out this middle part where most of the seeds are, and then slice it up about a 1/4 inch. And then we just put them on the tray in a single layer. Alright, so the chickens are going to be eating rather well today. Now with these, they say whenever you dry them, you want the small squash. So this is fairly small, and that's what we want because there's not going to be very many seeds, especially in this small neck. That's what we want. And then we start getting into the seeds. You can see maybe those. Some of them I cut up smaller, and some of them I leave whole. I'll just leave these whole. So you could have zucchini chips, you could make some dip, maybe even some cream cheese with a jalapeno jelly on top. Alright, one more tray. Alright, so now it's time to take these and put them in the pantry and put the lid on it. Hangs out in here. I have it in the pantry just because it does kind of hum, I guess you could say. And so if it's in here, it's just kind of a nuisance sometimes, so we just leave it in there. And I just wait until it's done. I'll check it when we get back later this evening, and if it's done, I'll put some more on there. Take it and I'll put those in a jar, and I'll just add some extra, add the next thing. Maybe not jalapenos, maybe more squash. We'll see. Alright, so that is just another way that I am preserving my harvest this year. I'm really excited to be doing this as well as canning some, freezing some. I actually haven't froze as much this year. I usually freeze all of my tomatoes and then I do them in the fall, but I've actually been going ahead and canning some. It feels great this morning. We've really had some humid weather and it feels like it's cooling off just a little bit. Maybe not as much humidity, which is fantastic, which I don't mind at all. But so I am doing that. I'm freezing a little bit, I'm canning some, and I'm drying some. So I'm curious what you're doing to preserve your harvest. If you're just using it all up, if you just have enough to eat, or if you have excess to preserve. Let me know in the comments below what you're doing. Hey, don't forget to subscribe below, share our channel, and as always, be a lovely light today.